God has been protecting me since day one. Take it a year before I was born, my parents were pregnant with another child. His name was Timothy. Made it full term, and a couple days before he was due, my mom noticed that he wasn't kicking anymore, and long story short, they ended up having a stillbirth. Doctors told my parents they could try to get pregnant as soon as they felt ready, but unfortunately with the traumatic experience that my mom's body had been through, it's probably going to take a while for her to get pregnant again. They almost immediately get pregnant with me, so much so that my due date was actually the same day that they had the stillbirth the year before. 13 weeks into the pregnancy, my mom developed a hole in her amniotic sac. The doctors gave me a 1 in 4 chance of surviving, and they said if that 1 in 4 chance did occur, they're all but guaranteed that I was going to be physically or mentally disabled. So knowing their past pregnancy issues, I wouldn't say they advised them to abort, but they informed them of their rights and kind of said it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to try again. Before they could even finish, my parents said absolutely not. We're going to put our faith in God. My mom was bedridden for the next 6 months. She literally did not leave the bed except to use the restroom and shower once a week. 6 months later, I was born, and the very first words out of my mom's mouth were not bad for a 1 in 4 chance. From my birth story to the way things have happened in my life, to the way things have in my career, it doesn't even seem possible. I was reading a book called The Circle Maker. One of the first things it talks about in The Circle Maker is how God wants you to pray boldly. That your basic prayers aren't what God necessarily wants. Of course He wants to hear it, but He wants to hear the impossible things in your life. He wants to hear the hardest things that you don't even think could potentially happen. And the book was talking about how this is the greatest form of worship, because you're saying, Lord, I can't do this without you. Come into my life and make this happen. And I read this and it hits me like that. And I call my wife, I'm like, hey, we got to change the way we're praying. I call my parents and I'm like, hey, we need to start praying boldly. And this is my rookie year. My mom comes home, her being in California and me being in Minnesota, she's on her lunch break and she's watching the game on TV. I'd already doubled and had an RBI that day, and she was kind of praying a boring prayer of, oh, thank you so much for getting that hit. And she kind of stopped in her thought and said, wait a second, he talked to me about praying boldly. She said, I was on deck, and she said, Lord, show me something right here. I want to see his first career home run. And I hit a inside the park home run, which I've never done in my career up to that point, and I haven't done it since. You know, just the way it happened, inside the Parker, and I remember she was moved to tears and saying that was the most unbelievable and quickest answer to a prayer that she's ever happened. Moving forward from there, my next 2 home runs were walk-off homers. So I think I was like one of 3 players in the history of the game to their first 3 home runs are inside the Parker, walk-off, and walk-off. I tell people, do you need God the Father to live on this earth? No, you don't. You're going to keep breathing, hopefully. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep living your life. But there's a greater purpose. There's something else out there. There's always going to be that void in your life, and that's God the Father. That He's always knocking on your door. He's always wanting you to accept Him. I wasn't supposed to be here. When I sign autographs, I always sign Mark 10:27, which says, for Jesus said, with man this is impossible, but not with God, for all things are possible with God. The one thing about that verse that sticks out to me is it says, with man this is impossible. Man said it was impossible that I'd be here. Man said it was impossible that I was going to be physically disabled, I was going to be mentally disabled. Man had had determined all these things for my life, and God said, no, that's not the way it's going to be. So that in itself is why I play for Him. He's been protecting me from day one, and He's given me this platform. There's a reason why I had this story. There's this reason why He's given me this platform, and it's to share my story, and it's to impact thousands of people for His kingdom. I'm James McCann, and I play for Him.